I'm digging a first-century Jewish town that suffered a Roman army attack, and there was a heavy massacre here. When we published the story about finding the mass graves, officers from the chief rabbinate of the army came over here. We redug the bones on the floor, and they took it to the pit where the mass grave was found. They buried it there and said prayers. The Israeli army, in which I served, my children served, and my grandchildren serving, are commemorating the warriors of 67. Mm-hmm. They lost, but we remember them. They lost, but we are here.
I'm on my way to the Galilee to visit the ancient abandoned city of Yodfat, where I'll be meeting the archaeologist Motti Aviam.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Good to see you. Let's see your site.
Over the course of 6 excavation seasons, Motti and his team unveiled the remnants of one of history's most heroic battles on this land.
This is the place of the first battle between Jews and Romans in the first Jewish revolt.
Frame this conversation for us. What is sort of a snapshot of what's happening around us in the country?
The Romans are here. It is still under Herod the Great. Rome decided to change the ruling system. No more Jewish local kings. And the relationship between the Jews and the Roman authority started to deteriorate. The Galilee was controlled by a local Jewish governor, Joseph, son of Matthias, later on Josephus Flavius. In the summer of 67, he came to command the first battle between Jews and Romans in the first Jewish revolt.
The Jewish War, authored by Josephus Flavius, stands as the only comprehensive account of the Great Revolt. Within its pages lies a detailed narrative of the siege of Yodfat. However, its accuracy has been a long-standing question among historians.
Josephus was here, there was no doubt. The excavations of Yodfat proved that Josephus' descriptions are very accurate. We dig here and we can continue and look step by step of his description and what we find in the field. According to Josephus, he fortified 19 settlements and prepared them for a war, and we found the wall all over the site. We proved that the wall at Yodfat was built for the war.
After fortifying Yodfat, Josephus assembled a Jewish army.
Army of farmers with old weapons that he found and with weapon that was prepared by the blacksmith of the Galilee. They all believed that God is with them and they will be able to defeat the Roman army. He says that the Romans built a siege ramp. One day when I was walking up and down the hill, I realized that there is a chunk of something that looked like a cement. So we decided to dig to see what it is. And we came upon the remains of the ramp.
Josephus and his low-tech, untrained Jewish army came up with innovative tactics to stay in the game.
When the Romans are creating what they call the tortoise shape, you see there all the shields on the side, the shields on the top, and the shields at the front. This is the way you approach the wall. Throw stones, nothing happens. You shoot arrows, nothing happens. And then he said, I had an idea. He said to bring all their olive oil. They boiled the oil and pour it from the wall on the Roman soldiers. And that goes in between the shields and burn them down. We know this was a heavy war for the Romans. They did not expect the Jews to fight like this.
The most heartbreaking discovery of the site, unfortunately, validates the tragic narrative by Josephus beyond doubt.
The Romans committed a heavy massacre of Jews in the streets. He speaks about rivers of blood running down the hill. Many scholars, historians, although said, that's exaggerating of this Josephus. We discovered mass burials at Yodfat. Some of the bones carried cut marks, especially the bones here in front of the arm.
Self-defense.
That's exactly what you do when someone hitting you with a sword. That's why these cut marks are here on the bones. And then let's assume that we don't have Josephus Flavius' description. There is no book that's called Jewish War. So I would have said, I'm digging a first-century Jewish town that suffered a Roman army attack, and there was a heavy massacre here. When we published the story about finding the mass graves, officers from the chief rabbinate of the army came over here. We redug the bones on the floor, and they took it to the pit where the mass grave was found. They buried it there and said prayers. The Israeli army, in which I served, my children served, and my grandchildren serving, are commemorating the warriors of '67. Mm-hmm. They lost, but we remember them. They lost, but we are here.
It's a very powerful scene.
Only Josephus survived to share the tragic tale.
Josephus said, and I escaped, and I jumped into a cave, and suddenly I see around it the 40 elders of the town. And he tells these 40 elders, you know, we lost. Let's surrender and we'll give up. And they said, no. It's better to commit suicide. And it's against everything. It's against human behavior, and especially it's against Jewish law. You're not allowed to kill yourself. Only God who created you will take you. And then they drew lots. Each one had to kill the other. And at the end, there are two. As I read the story, this guy had to kill Josephus. And Josephus convinced him not to do so. And they both go out and give themselves to the Romans.
Motti's personal story is surprisingly similar to that of Josephus, making him the perfect archaeologist to unearth and understand the secret of yodfat.
I was a tank commander in '73 war in front of the Syrians, and we 3 tanks in our post. We fought for a few hours until we lost all our tanks. In the evening, we found shelter in a small cement room, and the Syrians climbed up the hill. The paratroops officer said, if someone is capable, go out and surrender to the Syrians. And one of our soldiers stood up and went outside. The minute he went out, we had shootings. So the officer said, they're not going to take any prisoners. They're going inside and slaughter us. Therefore, each one will have a grenade in his hand. Take the safety pin out. And when the Syrians are inside, I tell you, and we're going to blow the bunker with them. We decided to commit suicide, but the Syrians didn't come inside. So I was there once, and we continued living. But that's something that enabled me a little bit to understand Josephus' decision to stay alive.
I'd say it's a little more than a little bit. Not many people in the world can say, I fully understand the life story of Josephus Flavius standing on a hilltop in northern Israel, debating whether he should commit suicide because he knows that all hope is gone. And you lived that, and not only that, you come and dig up that same story. That's an incredible story.
That's a game of history.
Shalom and welcome back. As you saw, we're talking about the lost treasures in the land. And when we talk about the lost treasures in the land, we cannot not talk about the Ark of the Covenant. Today we have a great honor to have with us Reuven Doron. Reuven is the director of Sarel Academy. Reuven, shalom and welcome.
Shalom.
Reuven, the Ark of the Covenant. Your first thought?
The centerpiece of God's plan for us. When our forefathers and mothers came out of Egypt, the first job, the first task, they took 1 year to build the tabernacle, the place where God said, I will dwell amongst the people. In the heart of the tabernacle was the Ark of the Covenant. First was the holy place, and then the Holy of Holies. It was secret, it was dark, it was hidden. Only the high priest can enter in, and only once a year, with the blood of bulls and rams to offer sacrifice for himself and then for the people. This was the heart of the relationship. Atonement can be made, and it was made on the top of the Ark of the Covenant, what we call the parochet, the seat of mercy. That's where God met with us. And so it is in the heart of the whole worship system of Israel.
We know that the Ark sat in Shiloh for 400 years. And then the Ark was moved to Jerusalem. Solomon brought the Ark of the Covenant into the temple just here, behind us. The Ark was in the first temple, but people are not sure that the Ark was in the second temple.
Probably was not, because we don't know when the Ark vanished. But at some point, as you said, under Solomon's rule, we don't hear about it anymore.
when we think about the Ark of the Covenant symbolize more than just a box, symbolize salvation.
Right.
The whole thing. I think Paul is talking about the pictures or the shadow that is in the Old Testament reflecting into the New Testament.
Absolutely. The ark points to the Lord Yeshua in a mystical, beautiful way, in a spiritual gift, because it's made out of wood. Etz shittim. It's almost as strong as metal. It is the wilderness wood. Speaks about the humanity of the Lord. But it was covered in and out with pure gold, upon which the blood was sprinkled once a year. And so we do see in the ark the person of Yeshua, our Lord Jesus, his humanity, his divinity. And what was in the ark? We read the New Testament interpretation, HaPerush, in the book of Hebrews.
The book of Hebrews.
3 items, remember. The tablets of the law, the 10 words, the 10 commandments, plus Aaron's rod that blossomed, plus a golden jar with a manna. All 3 items speak about man's depravity, man's great need, and God's provisions. Everything we cannot fulfill on our own, and God has to give us grace to fulfill. All of it in the Messiah. I'm looking for the ark that the Lord himself says is hidden in heaven. We read this mysterious scripture in the book of Revelation, chapter 11, where the final events are happening and the revival in the city, and the 2 witnesses die and rise to life again. And God says he opened the temple in the heavenly Jerusalem and revealed the ark. So all the movies, Indiana Jones, and all the legends, Shmulik, I mean, people think that the ark is buried in Jordan. There's some who think it is in Ethiopia. It's St. Mary's Church, where only one guard is able to look upon it. And some believe it is in New Guinea, and some say it is underneath Golgotha today. The ark is in heaven, and the Lord will reveal the true ark in his own good time.
Wow. Do you have any message that has to do with the Ark of the Covenant for people watching us today?
Absolutely. And that's the virtue of the Word of God. It always means to encourage our hearts, to strengthen us on this journey of faith that all of us are taking every day of our lives. Let the Ark of the Covenant speak to your hearts about the blessed presence of Jesus. And as all of us are commanded, like the Levites that carried the ark, we need to carry God's presence into our jobs, our homes, our families, my grandchildren, our prayer life, the congregations that you lead, the work that we do. Let us be so careful to bring with us the presence of the Lord, with our self-strength, with our talents, with our abilities. Thank God for our abilities. But we enter the Holy of Holies by the blood of the Lamb alone.
Reuven Doron, what a great honor. Thank you. And to you, our friends, like Reuven said, let us bring the good news wherever we are. May God bless you from Jerusalem.
Hello, this is Motti here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.